This is just my story. Everyone has a different story. August 27th, 2005 was the first time I remember hearing the word Katrina. I was at my best friend Courtney's 10th birthday party when everyone started leaving to evacuate. My father isn't one to evacuate often, because when you're from New Orleans, you don't. It's too common. Katrina was different. She was wild, untamable, unimaginable even. We left the next day at 4 a.m., trying to beat traffic, but the rest of the city did the same. Bumper to bumper for 14 hours. That's how long it took to get from my house on Lower Line Street to Destin, Florida. Usually a 5-hour drive. I thought I'd be there for a weekend, maybe a long one, and I'd get to miss school. But days turned to weeks, and those turned to months. I had to enroll in a new school, in a different 5th grade class with different 5th graders that I didn't know. I remember it all too vividly. I can recall the exact moment when I was watching the levees break on our TV in Destin while I was eating cheese nips in the living room. I did not understand what it meant when my dad said, "Sweetie, the levees just broke, and our city is drowning." While I was fortunate enough not to have any flooding to my house, every other house I knew well did. My best friend since I was 4, Courtney, her house got 6.5 feet of flooding. My aunt's house got 5. My house did, however, suffer intense wind damage. It's important to not only analyze my own story, but for the city's sake, and for the planet even, disaster vulnerability is something that can no longer be ignored. Vulnerability in this context means the diminished capacity of an individual or group to anticipate, cope with, resist, and recover from the impact of a natural or man-made hazard. The concept is relative and dynamic. Vulnerability is most often associated with poverty, but it can also arise when people are isolated, insecure, and defenseless in the face of risk, shock, or stress. Counteracting vulnerability requires reducing the impact of the hazard itself through mitigation, prediction, warning, preparedness, building capacities to withstand and cope with hazards, and tackling the root causes of vulnerability, such as poverty, poor governance, discrimination, inequality, and inadequate access to resources and livelihoods. In New Orleans, we have to be aware. We must be mindful and protect this city. For all it has given us, we owe it that. Collect all this history. Let the story of Katrina be examined over and over. The most predictable thing about life is its unpredictability. That's why we need to be prepared.